Okay, so yeah, who wants to go first for the yesterday's class? Anyone?
So should I go for it?
Yeah, sure.
Yesterday we talked about storage account. Azure subscription provides various services like creating a virtual machine, load balancer, resource group, NSG, VNet, and one such service is also a storage account. Why do we need a storage account? The default storage that we get by creating a virtual machine might not be enough because there might be cases where the dynamic website needs a lot of user interaction and it might not be able to handle it. So we might need to attach an additional storage account to it. That's why we need a storage account. Then we talked about types of storage account. Storage account is of two types, general purpose and block. General purpose is again of two types, version 1 and version 2. The different kinds of storing criteria were blob storage, file service, tables, and queues. Blob and file were used by the system admin, whereas table and queues were used by the developers. Then we talked about the different terminologies related to storage account. One such was the performance. Performance can be of two types, standard and premium. Based on the use case, we have to decide what has to be used. Then we talked about the redundancy. Redundancy is to ensure the durability of the data in the storage. Then redundancy is of many types, but we talked about the 6 types. First one is the LRS, locally redundant storage. In it, the Azure storage replication stores 3 copies of data within a single data center. The second one is the ZRS, which is the zone redundant storage. It contains 3 copies of data, but across multiple data centers, but within a single region. Third one comes the GRS. It is the geo redundant storage. It stores 6 copies of data across 2 paired regions for high durability. In GRS, if the primary region fails due to some reason, the secondary region is used. Fourth one is a read access GRS, and it is used. The basic difference is it is the GRS with the read access to the secondary region. That is, in the GRS, we use the secondary region only when the primary region fails. But in read access, the secondary region is also given a read access extra feature, which can be used even when the primary region is not failed. The fifth one is the GZRS. It is the storage replication that stores data in 3 regions, but with higher availability and durability than GRS. The sixth one is the RAGZRS, which is the GZRS with read access to the secondary region. After talking about the redundancy, we saw how to create the storage account. And in that, we talked that the storage account name should be unique across the world. And after creating the storage account, we saw how to create a container. We uploaded few files and we edited the content and checked if it is reflecting in the if it is reflecting even to the user. Then we tried to create and promote a snapshot. We tried taking a lease. Lease is basically to if a team of developers are working to prevent others from editing the file. We take a lease and then break it. At last, we talked about the access style, which was hot, cool, cold, and archive. Hot one is for the frequently accessed files, whereas the rest are for rarely accessed files. That's it.
Okay. So thank you, Swati. So yeah, I think so. All of you know most about the storage accounts. That why do we really require it, and how do we configure the storage accounts, and how do we set it up? Okay. So just a general briefing to all of you guys that how these web servers and how and why these DB servers and how the DB servers are being configured. So I would be just creating a bit. Just give me a minute. Yeah. So basically what happens, basically what happens, so let's create this one. This is our particularly the load balancer, and might be here are our servers. So this is basically our servers. So this is the load balancers. So clients, yeah, users, whatever you can say. They go to the cloud. Here is our cloud/internet. They hit a particular IP or a web address or a URL, and these come to the load balancers, and these gets distributed to a particular servers. So these are your servers. These are your web servers. Okay, so I even talked about the database server, that how these database servers are being configured on the backend. So for the database server, what happens at the backend is that there might be some internal load balancer. These requests would be coming to this, and we might be having our these are your DB server. So now let's get very used to some of the terminology. For example, whenever I talk about user data, so these data are generally structured. So these user data what may contain the most common terminology that inside a user data can be your name, age, and whatever user details you can say, email, phone number. So these are basically structured data. These are basically structured data. So these can be stored in this DB servers. So these DB servers are something for the web servers we installed the IIS server for the Windows or the Apache server on the Ubuntu. So for the DB server to store these structured data are actually these aren't any media files. So these wouldn't be very big enough so to store on a particular container or a particular something kind of and stuff. So these can be configured in a DB server. And DB server, how do we configure a DB server? So basically database server, there are various kind of and databases available in the market. So for example, the first example you can take is the SQL server, the MySQL server. You can call it SQL. Then there's a various NoSQL servers available, just like MongoDB, Oracle. Okay, so how do we configure a particular server to DB server? We can install DB engine, the various DB engines available for a particular kind of a server that we want to configure. So what happens basically, whenever we install a DB server, so these SQL, MongoDB, Oracle, it will basically store a particular structured data. Means the name, what would be the kind of the name? It would be string. Age would be int. Email would be string. Again, the phone number will be an int. Okay, so these are basically the structured data that we can store on our database servers. But what if if suppose you learn more about the DBMS part? So how do we store a particular image in a DB server? You can't store the image in a DB server. So for that, what we do, we keep an URL of it. For example, if suppose someone's for example, let's take an example. Let's take an example. Go to Flipkart. Once I go to my account, this is my profile. So these things, the name, the email address, these are very primitive data types. So basically, this just contain a minimal information. This just contain a minimal information, and that can be stored in our servers. But what if I go to the home page and I see a lot of images are being also rendered, but these names and the prices all are just a primitive data type. So what we generally do is that whenever there is some kind of a media file interaction, for example, some media file interaction means there might be a video, there might be images, there might be audios. So these kind of stuff, what we keep in our DB server, we keep the URL. Keep the URL of the image where it's stored. For example, my profile pic. My profile pic. Okay, and I will be storing a profile pic URL where my profile pic URL would be hosted, and that URL would be somewhere in my storage. Yesterday I got the URL from my storage. For example, I have my storage account, and I have a container named where I keep all the profile photos, and I just keep a copy of a particular image URL, and I just render it in the front end using the URL that is inside my profile pic. Okay. So is my point clear? What I'm trying to say, that we don't store a media kind of a files or an object kind of file in our main database server. Else we keep the URL and we keep it somewhere else in our storage. Let it be S3 bucket, or let it be the storage accounts or the containers or the blobs in that we use in our Azure. Okay. So that we keep the URL in it. So I will just give you an example. So for example, this is the Flipkart website. When I go to, let's say, mobiles and tablets, so this opens up these kind of stuff where it has a lot of images and lot of information over it. So how these things come to the front end, I will just let you know. Okay, so basically the front end and the back end part is there on the first day or the second day I talked about it. So the back end engineers, what they do, they provide us the endpoints that contains these information. What is the name, what is the price, and what image to show. So basically, I will just let you know an example of an API response and how this API response comes, and we render it too. Okay, so we'll write fake store API. Just a minute. Okay, I click on fake store API.com/product. So as soon as you see it, I see a particular response over here. This is a passed response. Don't worry much about this, what this exactly is. Many students might be knowing, many students might not be knowing. So I got 20 items. So for example, might be Flipkart is using some kind of an APIs for their products. So there can be their endpoints would be flipkart.com/product. That's internally used on the backend. Okay, so once I search anything, so for example, there would be ID, the title of the product name, what is the prices, the description, the category, and the image. See here, the image isn't stored in the database itself. Rather, it has been stored somewhere with a particular URL. The rating is there, the rating, rate, and count. Okay, so once I click this one, see, I got an image. In the same way, every other product would be having an image URL. The whole image isn't stored inside the database server. So rather, all these images might be stored inside some containers or blobs, or rather if suppose you talk about AWS, it might be stored somewhere in the S3 bucket, or some kind of other storage hosting services as well. Okay, so where we will be keeping up these images that may be very large. So when I talk about very large, so actually these primitive data types, ID1, title, this won't be more than an KB or a KB or a 2. Okay, it won't be more than 1 KB. But this image, if suppose I click this image might be of some MB, I guess. It may be of 1 MB, 2 MB. So these primitive data types, we can definitely store in our DB server. But whenever we talk about the media files, it might be going through to our storage. Is it clear, guys, what I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the other problem statements that I'm trying to talk about is that that the developers might be accessing the web servers and the DB servers. But for example, if suppose someone uploads a profile pic, okay, so I have said my developers to just send that profile pic to the storage account, and I will provide you the URL, and he can just insert it to the user data table. That profile pic is in this URL. Okay. Now the question arises is that if suppose the developers also want to see that whether my profile pic is uploaded and whatever the containers are there inside my storage accounts, that whether everything is being updated or not. So I might have to give him access to the Azure portal, and they can directly navigate to our to the storage accounts and look into the containers. That's one approach. But in generally, the stakeholders or the clients doesn't want, the client doesn't want that the developers should have the access to the whole Azure portal. Okay, so whatever container or whatever storage kinds that we have created on our Azure portal, they don't want to give them the access to the portal itself. Okay, so the other option stands by with us is that we can at least whatever storage things that we have created over here, we can at least give them or rather mount them on their VMs. Okay, so we will what we will be doing today is that we will be creating an storage account, and we will be creating a container over there, and we will try to mount that container on the VMs itself, because we have given the access to the web servers and the DB servers to the developers. So from the DB servers only they can see the mounted container over there, and they can directly do the changes over there. So for example, if suppose the clients even ask that to transfer this primitive data type, the whole user data table, to my container, so how they can do that we are going to see today. Okay, so you got my problem statement clear today, everyone, what we are going to try today?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we are going to basically create an storage container over on our Azure portal, and we will try to mount it to one of the web servers or the DB servers. Whatever servers we configure, we will try to mount it on anywhere and just give them the access that whether they can see the container or not on their VMs. Perfect.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think so. Just give me a minute. Okay. Now I will be so again, let's create the architecture first. First of all, it will be your subscription. Inside subscription, which would be your resource group. Inside the resource group, you would be having your, what was next? The VNets. Then we'll be creating a subnet. And inside the subnet, we'll be having your Just give me. So let's rename it. Subscription. Resource group. This is your VNet. This is your subnet. And inside the subnet, you will be having one of the VMs. This VM will just be a web server, and on the web server itself, we will try to mount a container. Web server. Okay. So what we are going to do today, inside a subscription, we will create a resource group and then a VNet and a subnet, and then we are going to configure just a VM over there. So it will be particularly a VM. We don't want to really make it a web server for the time being. We'll be just create the VM and just try to see whether I'm getting VM. Okay. So this is the resource group. So I might be somewhere having my own. I haven't created the storage account yet. So here it would be storage account. So it would be my storage account. And inside the storage account, I will create a container. This would be my container. And what I will try today, I will try to mount this container on this VM. This would be my priority job for today. Okay, so I will try to mount this container, and whatever changes I do in the container, it should must reflect on my virtual machine. Okay, so now I think so we can get started with our architecture. So first of all, before starting it up, that how can we mount it? So we can mount it using blob fuse. There is a concept called blob fuse. Suppose you write down what is blob fuse. What is blob fuse? You can get to know that what is blob fuse. Okay. Blob Fuse is a virtual file system driver for Azure Blob Storage. Blob Fuse allows you to access your existing blobs data in your storage account through Linux file system. Using our in our Linux file system, or rather on the Linux server, we can mount a particular container on our Linux machine using Blob Fuse. So this is what we are going to configured today. So this is the what do you call, this is the driver name that is used, that is blob fuse. So first of all, before moving on to with all this blob fuse, let's create this architecture first. Let's create this architecture first on our Azure portal. Okay, so come on, who wants to go for this whole creation part? Anyone?
So,
Chalo, start karte hain. And one more extra thing. So we were using till we were using Ubuntu, we were using Windows machine. We will be using some different images. Okay, chalo, start karo. Let it be. ये दोनों यहाँ रहने देते resource group. Let's create a new resource group. Okay.
Create resource. Name of the resource group.
What should we name it? Let's see.
Storage.
Mount RG. Okay.
Review. Central use.
Next tags.
Review.
Okay. So we have mount.
Home.
Okay. Now what should we create? Virtual networks, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Create resource group. Mount
Mount
RG. Name of the virtual.
Mount VNet. Central US. Next IP address. Let's delete this
Delete.
subnet. Add a new subnet. My subnet 10.0.
0.1.0/20.
चलो ठीक है next security tags review and create let's wait for the deployment. Deployment is, we just go to the resource and just check whether everything is, this is the address space, everything, virtual network. ठीक है, चलो, very good. Next,
virtual machine.
Virtual machines. चलो, we don't have any virtual machines at the
Create.
moment. Create. So the resource group would be
Mount
RG.
RG.
चलो, name of the resource group.
Web server.
So, now image that I'm going to take today is CentOS. Okay, CentOS is again a Linux kind of an operating system. So this is a new image that you might be using today. So this is CentOS. It's 8.2. Free services available. Okay. Everyone try to configure everything today in the lab sessions on the CentOS. CentOS based 8.2. Okay. So I will rename the virtual machine as CentOS VM. Sorry, CentOS VM. Okay. The region would be Central US. We don't have Central US. Wait. Just check whether we have Central US or not.
What type of this?
So we have Central US. Availability, no infrastructure redundancy required. Okay. CentOS 8.2. We have taken this one, SSH public key. You can take the password as well. Username Azure user, generate new key pair, CentOS VM _ key. It would be created. We just allow everything. Next disks. Okay, everything clear. So it took the my subnet और ये मेरे को एक VM IP भी दे देगा. NIC network security group should be basic, allow selected ports, next management, next monitoring, next advanced, next tags, next review and create. Create. Download private key and create. Let's wait for the deployment. In the meantime, I think so we can create our
storage account.
storage account. Yeah, perfect. चलो बताओ storage account कैसे बनाना है.
Search in the storage.
ठीक है.
Create.
Create.
Storage account name.
Storage account name. What should we give this storage account? Mount RG storage account. It should be unique. Silicon batch 1 storage. ठीक है. It's unique. Central US standard. इसको करते हैं LRS.
LRS.
Next advanced. ठीक है. All clear. Next networking. Enable public access. Perfect. Next data protection. Soft delete कल बताता सबको. Next tags. Next review. Next. आजा भाई. Create. चलो. So everyone, our CentOS VM is ready. So I think so we can go and connect to it now. I go to the connect part and I will try to connect it via SSH. Okay. So where's my terminal? So this is my terminal. I will enlarge it. Is it visible? Clearly visible to you all guys?
Yes.
Okay. Let's create go to our download folders first. We have now moved into our download folder. अब connect करने के लिए क्या बोल रहा है पहले
Copy the
ch mode ये चला लेते हैं. What is my name of the file that I have downloaded? CentOS VM है ना. अच्छा ठीक है. Let it be here. First of all, I will run this command. ठीक है. I will just copy this whole name. ठीक है. Now I will copy this command. Oh shit. So I will again copy this one and paste it over here. ठीक है.
सर दोबारा से बताइए.
हाँ, अच्छा अच्छा. चलो लेट्स कनेक्टेड, देखते कनेक्ट होता है कि नहीं. हाँ भाई दे दो. परमानेंटली एडेड system ctl. Okay, so now I am inside my CentOS VM. Everyone can see that. I will just switch to super user, and I will go to the root directory. Everything I'm going to do today is from the root directory. This is the symbol that symbolizes that I am on the root directory, and super user to switch user. I have converted myself from a normal user to a super user now. Okay, to our root user. So now this is completed. I hope my VM is also my resource is also completed. So yesterday I said about that how to create a container for it. So let's create a container. Let it be containers everyone. What should be the name? The name should be let's keep my container. Let's create. Okay, now we have created my container. Now inside my container, I will upload just a file. Okay. Let's upload this one. Chalo, this is uploaded. This is something 1816830 something .jpeg. It's an image file. Just remember it's an image file. So now we are inside our CentOS terminal. Now I think so. Now we have to mount this particular container on this server. This is our used problem statement for today, that we have to mount this particular container on our server. So how we can do that? We will just writing on Google how to install Blobfuse in Linux. Okay, so it will tell you about how to mount Azure Blob Storage as file system with Blobfuse version 1. So we are going to use Blobfuse for mounting a particular container on our server. Okay, so everyone will be going through this website and will try to mount their containers on a particular VM using this documentation. I have sent you the link as well. ठीक है, अब ये जैसे जैसे बोलते जा रहा है, now we'll be doing the same. Okay, ये जो बोल रहा है हम लोग वही करते जाएंगे. ठीक है, so first of all said ये हमें बोल रहा है कि आप कम से कम Blobfuse अपने पास इंस्टॉल करके रखो. This is the Blobfuse that is used as driver. Okay, so how do we install this Blobfuse? We can download it using this package. So what is the version that we are using? What is the operating system that we are using? We are using CentOS.
CentOS.
Okay, so I will just copy this command. And just write down here v sudo rpm minus जो भी है uuvh https ये हो रहा है इसके URL का एड्रेस जहां पे ये Blobfuse इसके पास रखा हुआ है. So we will press on enter. So one package is installed. Okay. So this package is installed. So let us check whether it has been installed or not. This is the Microsoft prod.rpm. अब इसे check करने के लिए we can go to our ls /etc /yum dot repos dot f. Let us अच्छा ls /etc के अंदर पहले देख लेते हैं क्या क्या है. Okay, we have yum dot repos dot d. Okay, yum dot repos dot d. See, we have Microsoft prod repo copied over here. Means copied नहीं, ये यहाँ पे हमने डाउनलोड करके Microsoft prod dot repos यहाँ पे करके रखा है हमारे पास. ठीक है. Now we will be moving on with the next one, that is yum install blobfuse. Yum install blobfuse. Let us check what happens. Yes. Yes. Let's wait. Complete. ठीक है. अब हमारे पास ब्लॉब फ्यूज तो हमारे पास आ गया. सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल लेट चेक कि यार क्या ऑलरेडी यहाँ पे हमारे इस वर्चुअल मशीन पे कुछ स्टोरेज माउंटेड है क्या. उसके लिए हमारा कमांड होता है df space -h. ठीक है. So now you can see we have some temporary files mounted over here inside dev shm run boot. ये सब these are the storage accounts. These are the storage that has been temporarily used using the server's OS. हमारे जो VM का OS है ना, ये हम यूज करके रखा हुआ है. 1.7 GB अपने पास रखा है as a temporary 1.7 GB, 496 MB inside this one, mounted on this one. We don't have our container being mounted over here yet. Okay, so we have installed the blobfuse. Now we will just clear this out. ठीक है. So now we go back to our documentation. अभी देखते हैं क्या बोलता है. Prepare for mounting. ठीक है. Prepare for mounting में इसने optionally बताया है use a RAM disk for temporary path. The following example creates a RAM disk of 16 GB and a directory for blobfuse. Choose the size based on your needs. This RAM disk allows blobfuse to open files up to 16 GB in size. ठीक है. तो ये जैसे जैसे बोलते जा रहे हैं हम करते जाते हैं. Let's create a directory mkdir mnt ram disk. mkdir mnt ram disk. चलो अब ये डायरेक्टरी तो बन गया. Now it says copy this command mount. ये एक टेम्पररी माउंटिंग कर देगा. mount tmpfs -o size equal to 16 GB. मैं इसे 100 GB कर देता हूं. ठीक है, कि मेरे को टेम्परेरी माउंटिंग 100 GB का चाहिए. Click on enter. Now I will make a directory inside my RAM disk of named blobfuse temp. mkdir माउंट के अंदर RAM disk के अंदर blobfuse temp करके हमारा एक डायरेक्टरी बना दो. चलो, this is done and this is chown your username mount rmdisk blobfuse. ये हमें करने का जरूरत नहीं है because we are already a super user or rather a root user right now. Okay, so we don't have to do this. So we have used the optional part, so we won't be using this one now. I will just authorize my access to the storage account. हमने अभी तक इसे कहीं भी नहीं बताया है कि तुम्हें कौन से स्टोरेज अकाउंट से आना है. ठीक है, तो उससे पहले just make a copy of the account name, account key and the container name that we have created on our Azure portal. ठीक है, तो इसे मैं कॉपी करता हूँ. Let's go to online notepad.org. ठीक है, let's delete this one. I just copy it out. तो हमारा अकाउंट नेम क्या है, स्टोरेज अकाउंट नेम क्या है, हम यहाँ पे जाएंगे. We go to home, we go to storage accounts. What is our account name? It's Silicon Batch 1 Storage. We will copy this name. Perfect. अब अकाउंट की मेरे को कहां से मिलेगा, अकाउंट की मेरे को मिलेगा, इसको अगर हम क्लिक करेंगे, इसके ओवरव्यू सेक्शन पे जाना, दिस इज माय सिलिकॉन बैच 1 स्टोरेज. इफ सपोज यू स्क्रॉल डाउन, you will be getting to know about that we have security plus networking. Inside security plus networking, I have access keys. Okay, click on the access keys. We have key 1, key 2. So for example, we are going to copy this key 1, this key, copy this up and paste it over here. Next is container name. What is the name of the container that we are going to mount today? Go to containers. हमने my container name से बनाया हुआ है. ठीक है, my container, copy this up. वहां भी शायद my container ही है. चलो, perfect. So we have our account name ready as Silicon Batch 1 Storage. The account key we copied it from the access keys. The container name as my container. चलो, ये तो हमारे पास रेडी हो गया. अब ये बोलता है कि एक फाइल बनाओ, एक क्रिएट अ फाइल, फ्यूज कनेक्शन डॉट CFG फाइल बनाओ और उसमें इस सारे चीज को पेस्ट कर दो. ओके, सो व्हाट आई विल डू राइट नाउ इज दैट आई विल कॉपी दिस थिंग, आई विल कॉपी दिस वन. और टच कमांड से भी फाइल्स बनते हैं, हमारे VI कमांड से भी फाइल बनता है. फॉर एग्जांपल, इन योर C प्रोग्रामिंग लैब सेशंस यू माइट बी क्रिएटिंग योर फाइल्स यूजिंग द VI कमांड. सो VI इज बेसिकली जस्ट एन एडिटर. ठीक है, तो आई जस्ट कॉपी दिस आउट. ठीक है, path 2. So I will be making this fuse connection dot CFG inside my root folder only, inside my root directory. So I just create remove this one, remove this CD and just write down VI fuse connection dot CFG. Click on enter. ठीक है, अब देख रहे हो ये हमारा एक न्यू फाइल बन गया है. आई गो टू द इंसर्ट मोड. इंसर्ट मोड कैसे जाते हैं, आई से जाते हैं. ठीक है, एंड वी हैव टू कॉपी दिस थिंग दैट वी हैव क्रिएटेड. वी विल बी कॉपिंग अप दिस थिंग, पेस्ट अप ओवर हियर. ठीक है, एंड जस्ट सेव एंड एग्जिट. ठीक है, नाउ वी हैव saved the contents inside the fuse connection dot CFG. और अब हम we are ready with our fuse connection dot CFG file. ठीक है, now the other command that they are trying to tell us to run is that once you have created and edited this file, make sure to restrict access so no other users can read it. ठीक है, because this is my correction CFG file, so you don't want any other accounts or any other developers just to read this file from the virtual machines itself. So I will copy this command, paste it. I'm already a super user. ठीक है, what was my path? Path was my root only, so I will just remove this path 2. Press enter. So now the restrictions have been applied on this fuse connection dot CFG. अब ये कह रहा है create an empty directory for mounting. ठीक है, so I will be creating an empty directory inside my root folder apply the mounting of my storage account to my virtual machine. Okay, so now I will copy this one, paste up over here. I'm already inside my root folder. So it's I have created my container now. तो मैं ls करता हूँ या फिर go to my container, go to my container. When I do ls, अभी इसके अंदर कुछ भी नहीं है. This is empty. This is empty. ठीक है. I go back to my root directory. I just clear it up. ठीक है. Now the final step. This is the final step for mounting. It says, just copy this and paste it there. That what does it exactly say? ठीक है. Sudo blob fuse my container temporary path is mount resource blob fuse temp जो हमने बनाया था. हमारा config फाइल कहाँ पे है? fuseconnection.cfg में है. So this is something that they have provided to us. So I will just copy this out. I'm already a super user. The only change I need to make it over there is that my config file is just inside my root directory. So I have to just remove this path too. Let's remove this path too. Everything else remains the same. Press enter. Okay, inside root my container कुछ करके है ही नहीं. So copy this again. Click on history. What was the name of our container? My container. Okay, I got it. Command V. Okay, this my container is already inside my root, so I have to remove that symbol. Enter. Perfect. This didn't throw any error, so I will be going back to my container directory and let us check. Clear this all inside this my directory, my container. We have only one file, that is 168.360.jpeg something. That's an image file. When I list out the thing inside this my container, let us check कि ये हमारे पास है कि नहीं. See, is this same image that I have got that was on my container? Everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now it has been mounted on any of the virtual machine that you want to mount for the developers. Let's create a file on it. Touch abc.txt. ठीक है, मैंने एक फाइल बना दिया. I do ls, so now I have abc.txt and this particular image file. Okay, I will be just I'm just refreshing this container. See, abc.txt यहाँ भी आ गया.
Yes, sir.
ठीक है. So this is how you mount a particular container on an on a particular virtual machine using the whole documentation is available. You can either use Windows VM, you can use Ubuntu, you can use Linux, any Linux VM as well. So this is how we mount a particular container on a virtual machine. Okay, everyone clear? Now let's add another thing and let's see whether it's being reflected over there or not. Let's upload it. So it's uploaded. Do ls. So this file will also be available over here. ठीक है? Everyone clear with the steps? Just revise the video, go through the documentation. You will be able to mount a particular container on a particular virtual machine. Okay. So for today, I am going to give you some tasks that you can try some hands-on on it. ठीक है. अब हम इसका कुछ limitations बताते हैं. अभी तक हम I didn't complete the whole, so we still have something called persist the mount. ठीक है. ये persist the mount क्या कहता है कि हमने if suppose I go to the root directory cd df-h, you can see that some inside my RAM disk there is an 100 GB temporary fuse directory available for mounting, and this is the block fuse that I have just used for mounting and all. So this temporary 100 GB is this is not permanent. If suppose I reboot my system, after rebooting, and when I will just log in back again to my virtual machine, this temporary mounting will just get removed. Okay. So this is not feasible because you have to mount every time. So for that you have to do one thing. You have to permanently what's the spelling? Permanently mount the container. ठीक है, ये तुम लोग का आज पहला टास्क है. Permanently mount the container. What do you mean by permanently mount the container means? See, सबको पता है, यहाँ चल गया कि there is some temporary fused file of 100 GB on mount RAM disk. There is a block fuse used over here. So I will just reboot this system. Sudo reboot. ठीक है. Connection closed. ठीक है. I will just clear all the command and I will again log back in. I just entered reboot, so it might take a minute or two just to reboot the whole virtual machine over there. Okay, so now I'm back on my CentOS. So I click on ls. I am on the root user. Okay, perfect. Now again logging back in. If suppose I write down df-h, is my container still mounted over here? Yes or no? Everyone.
No,
ठीक है, तो वो परमानेंटली माउंट नहीं हो रहा है. So you have to look into options that how do you permanently mount the container inside the documentation. We still have persist the mount. To learn how to persist the mount, see persisting in the block fuse wiki. ठीक है, so you have to research a bit and try to persist the mounting. ठीक है. Now second thing is that how do you how to increase the volume of the container. कौन था भाई? वॉल्यूम ऑफ द कंटेनर. बिल्ली है. हाँ भाई, बिल्ली तो मेरे को समझ में है. चलो ठीक है. सो दीज टू थिंग्स यू डू. देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड क्रॉन जॉब्स. वो शायद तुम लोग थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट हो जाएगा, बट या these are the two things that you have to do: permanently mount the container and how to increase the volume of the container. ठीक है, ये दो चीज कर लेना. सो एवरीवन क्लियर हमने क्या किया अभी? everyone?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
ठीक है, चलो let's move on with the further topic. ठीक है, अब कुछ बात करते हैं. Let's delete this. चलो, now I think so we can discuss something interesting about sharings and how do we share files over on the servers. So there's a concept in Azure that what we talk about is inside inside storage accounts. You suppose you scroll down. If suppose you scroll down, there is a concept called file shares. ठीक है? File shares. Let's go back to our. ठीक है? Let's create the वो setup create करते हैं. For example, and this is the load balancer. ठीक है? These are your servers. यहाँ क्लाइंट बैठा हुआ है. ये रिक्वेस्ट आएगा यहाँ पे. This will be redistributed. ठीक है? And there would be ठीक है. Let it be web server and let it be the DB server. ठीक है. So what generally happens is that whenever we make a request to a particular server, ये particular server क्या करेगा? ये पर्टिकुलर सर्वर क्या करेगा? दिस सर्वर ये क्लाइंट आया, क्लाइंट बोला ये रहा मेरा यूजर नेम पासवर्ड. सो ये यहाँ पे जाके फिर इसको ये यूजर नेम पासवर्ड है एंड देन क्लाइंट इवन गिव सम एक्स्ट्रा डिटेल्स. फॉर एग्जांपल प्रोफाइल पिक्चर दे दिया, वो अपना यूजर अकाउंट क्रिएट कर रहा है. ठीक है, तो वो अभी ये डीबी सर्वर इसको सर्व कर रहा है. ठीक है. सो डू यू थिंक दैट अगर ये इस डीबी सर्वर पे स्टोर हो गया तो ये नेक्स्ट टाइम आएगा, नेक्स्ट टाइम जब ये सर्वर हिट करेगा, फॉर एग्जांपल फॉर सम रीजंस अगर इस डीबी सर्वर पे चला गया तो देन हिज यूजर अकाउंट डिटेल्स वोंट बी कॉन्फ़िगर्ड ओवर हियर, क्योंकि ये ऑलरेडी यहाँ पे सेव है. ठीक है. सो इस यूज केस को या फिर इस प्रॉब्लम को हटने के लिए वी हैव एन कंसेप्ट दैट ऑल आवर डीबी सर्वर शुड बी synced to each other. Synced मतलब क्या होना चाहिए? All the data on the first DB server should always be present on the second DB server. So for example, these two DB servers should have an shared instance or shared database. ठीक है, मेरा कहने का मतलब समझ रहे हो कि ये denote data, ये both the databases or the n number of databases whatever available on that they should be sharing something in between, so that they can at least know that what data to particularly put inside the database. So and this is how we are going to configure. So then only the shared instance or the shared DB concept came into picture. So where we can share a particular share a particular details over a particular database server or rather a web server itself कि हम एक shared instance के through how we are going to serve to our clients. ठीक है. So this was the use case that now we are going to discuss about, and that too using file shares. Okay. In AWS, this file shares is exactly similar to one of the terminology. I don't remember. If suppose anyone from the AWS batch, anyone out of you from the AWS batch, that's this file share is something very relatable to in our S3 bucket. There is something some terminology over there. I don't remember that exactly. Anyone, do you know? पता है किसी को?
याद नहीं आ रहा.
File shares similar. File shares in Amazon S3. SMB शेयर था क्या कुछ यहाँ पे? There might be something. ठीक है, तो वो सब डिस्कस बाद में करेंगे. तो दिस इज द थिंग. अब हम लोग यहाँ पे फाइल शेयर्स माउंट करने वाले हैं. हाँ, फाइल शेयर को हम दो अलग अलग सर्वर पे हम माउंट करके देखेंगे कि दैट हाउ डू वी पर्टिकुलरली क्रिएट अ शेयर्ड इंस्टेंस, सो दैट अगर मेरे किसी एक सर्वर पे भी अगर चेंजेस हो तो वो दूसरे सर्वर पे भी मेरा वो चेंजेस को रिफ्लेक्ट करना चाहिए. ठीक है. सो दिस इज यूजिंग आवर फाइल शेयर्स. उससे पहले मैं बताना चाहता हूँ कि जो हमारे ओल्ड आर्किटेक्चर्स होते थे, हमारे ओल्ड ऑन प्रेमिसेस सर्विसेज आर्किटेक्चर्स होते थे, दैट वाज वेरी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड. वो काफी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड होता था. हमें सर्वर डिजाइन करना पड़ता था, हमारे पास डेटा सेंटर्स होने चाहिए थे हमारे खुद के अपने, फिर उस पे हमें लैन पोर्ट देना पड़ता था, मींस इंटरनेट कनेक्शन देना पड़ता था, दैट नीड्स टू बी प्रोवाइडेड विद अ पावर सप्लाई. फिर उसके बाद हम उसे अपने सर्वर पे उसके बाद उसे हम अपने डेटाबेस सर्वर पे हम उसे कॉन्फ़िगर करते थे. देन अगेन फ्रॉम द डेटाबेस सर्वर वो हमारे वेब सर्वर को कॉन्फ़िगर होता था. देन वी क्रिएटेड द लोड बैलेंसर्स. दिस वाज ऑन प्रेमिसेस सेटअप. जो पहले होता था वो क्लाउड के आने से पहले, इट वाज अ वेरी बिग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. ठीक है. सो उसके लिए हमें मैनुअली बहुत सारी चीज देखना पड़ता था, बहुत सारे फैक्टर्स को देखना पड़ता था. फॉर एग्जांपल इलेक्ट्रिसिटी होना चाहिए. These servers were very what do you say, heat emit करता था. So we have to provide with the coolants and all. But ये जैसे जैसे क्लाउड सर्विस प्रोवाइडर्स आते गए, जैसे पहले AWS आया, देन Azure आया, देन क्लाउड GCP आया. They said that I will take care of the infrastructure, I will take care of everything. You just purchase the services from me and I will take care of everything. You just create your own applications and deploy it to our server. ठीक है. So this cloud service providers, they came up that I will take care of all your physical appearance of your servers and of your premises. You just purchase the services, use the services and pay just जैसे बिलिंग होगा, पे ऑन द सब्सक्रिप्शन बिलिंग्स एंड ऑल. तुम मेरे को पे करते जाओ. सो फॉर दैट रीजंस हमारे ये अज्योर और AWS और GCP, they came up into the picture. ठीक है. चलो. So what we are going to do now is that हमारे पास एक CentOS VM तो ऑलरेडी बना हुआ है. ठीक है. So we will be just making हम लोग एक विंडोज सर्वर भी कॉन्फ़िगर कर लेते हैं, उसके बाद एक फाइल शेयर बनाएंगे. ठीक है. लेट्स क्रिएट अ विंडोज मशीन. Go to virtual machines, create Azure virtual machine. Let it be in Mount RG. My विंडोज VM, ठीक है, US सेंट्रल US 3 GB, ठीक है, सिलिकन, पासवर्ड वुड बी password@123, password@123, ठीक है, अलाउ एवरीथिंग, ठीक है, नेटवर्किंग ये बेसिक रहने दो, लेट इट बी इन माई सबनेट 1, इसे IP देना है दे दो, नहीं देना है मत दो, डजेंट मैटर, नेक्स्ट मॉनिटरिंग, नेक्स्ट एडवांस्ड, नेक्स्ट टैग्स, नेक्स्ट रिव्यू एंड क्रिएट, लेट्स क्रिएट, let it deploy it first. Go to our home section, we go to our storage accounts. So this is the storage account, we have file shares concept over here, ठीक है, पहले देख लेते हैं फाइल शेयर्स करता क्या, ठीक है, for a basic definition, what is file share in Azure, ठीक है, in Azure, file share is a convenient place for cloud application to write their logs, metrics, crash dumps. Logs can be written by application instance via file REST API. Developer can access them by mounting the file share on their local machine. ठीक है, ये एक बेसिक सा डेफिनेशन है, ये भी देख लो. Azure file storage and blob storage offer the same level of redundancy, but Azure blob storage is cheaper than file storage. अच्छा, चलो go back to our, ठीक है, let's create file share. My file share, ठीक है, next backup, let's create, हाँ ये backup रहना चाहिए, vault name ये next review, अच्छा इसको backup नहीं चाहिए मेरे को, अच्छा backup ले लेते हैं, let's create it, we are creating a new file share, wait for a moment, चलो. So we have now my file share ready, and in the meantime my Windows server is also ready. First let's connect to the Windows server as well, ठीक है, go to connect, अच्छा, overview, copy the public IP, add PC, silicon, add, click on connect, continue, ठीक है. So let's go back to our file share. We go to the my file share, ठीक है, अब इस पे हम कुछ अपलोड करते हैं, Let's upload चलो let's upload this one. नहीं यार ये नहीं. ठीक है, let's upload this one. ठीक है, अब हमने इसके ऊपर ही अपलोड कर दिया. अब देखो यहाँ पे एक कनेक्ट का ऑप्शन मिल रहा है, हम इस कनेक्ट पे चलते हैं. ठीक है, कि ये माई फाइल शेयर को ये कनेक्ट करने के लिए मेरे को दे रहा है. ठीक है, तो सबसे पहले लेट्स माउंट दिस ओवर ऑन आवर लिनक्स. लिनक्स मतलब सेंट ओएस जो हमने बनाया है ना, हमने जो सेंट ओएस बनाया है, हम इसके ऊपर यहाँ पे इसको माउंट करेंगे. ठीक है, हाउ डू यू माउंट इट? तो यहाँ पे एक स्क्रिप्ट ऑलरेडी लिखा होगा. आई विल जस्ट कॉपी दिस स्क्रिप्ट. मेरे को बस ये स्क्रिप्ट कॉपी करना है, पेस्ट करना है. सी, अब ये बोल रहा है कि बैड ऑप्शन फॉर सेवरल फाइल सिस्टम्स, एनएफएस, सीआईएफएस, ये सब इसके पास कुछ है नहीं. so for that we have to run a command. I will let you know the command. It's yum. No, wait a minute. It's yum install CIFS star -y. Just run this. Okay, inside the root user. Sudo su. Sudo yum install CIFS star -y. चलो ये हो गया. Now I will just copy this up. हमने यहाँ से कॉपी किया था. I will just copy this script. ठीक है, so I have something mounted over here. I go to ls sudo su. अच्छा, ये मेरे को बनने क्यों नहीं दे रहा है? There must be let's go this one. अच्छा, my file share. ठीक है, my file share cd my file share.
सर वो फाइल लाइन हो गया
क्या हो गया?
सर, स्पेलिंग फाइल शेयर.
अच्छा
Like-
अच्छा. हम्म. कंट्रोल Z काम नहीं कर रहा है इस पे.
Sir, control C.
क्या बोले? कंट्रोल जी। और कोई कमांड? कंट्रोल एक्स।
Control C.
Control
चलो ठीक है। वी गो टू, अरे यार, cd स्लैश माई फाइल शेयर, नो सच फाइल और डायरेक्टरी। ठीक है, cd, ये रूट नहीं ले रहा है क्या? शिफ्ट, ये माई फाइल शेयर इस बना नहीं। अच्छा, लेट्स सी फॉर दी विंडोज। विंडोज पे क्या होगा? लेट्स दी, जो ड्राइव लेटर होगा ना, जैसे कि हमारा यहाँ पे वी गो टू दी, क्लिक ऑन दिस वन। सारे खुल गए। ठीक है, जस्ट क्रॉस दिस वन, क्रॉस दिस वन। ठीक है, सो यू गो टू दिस पीसी, तुम्हें यहाँ पे दिखेगा कि दैट यू हैव विंडोज सी, टेम्परेरी स्टोरेज डी एंड डीवीडी ड्राइव ई। ठीक है, तो ये बोल रहा है वॉट एवर ड्राइव नेम दैट यू वांट टू गिव, लेट्स गिव दैट जेड ड्राइव। ठीक है, स्टोरेज अकाउंट की, आई विल शो दिस स्क्रिप्ट, आई विल कॉपी दिस अप, आई विल कॉपी दिस अप, और हम इसके पावर शेल पे, आई विल गो टू द पावर शेल। आजा भाई, विंडोज पावर शेल। विंडोज में दो पावर शेल होता है क्या? x86 भी होता है? क्लिक ऑन द पावर शेल एंड जस्ट कॉपी दैट कमांड, कि देखते हैं वो कॉपी होता है कि नहीं होता है एटलीस्ट। क्लिक ऑन एंटर। तो समथिंग इज गोइंग ऑन द बैक एंड, वो बैक एंड पे कुछ कुछ वो करेगा एंड इट विल ट्राई टू माउंट। ठीक है, वेटिंग फॉर रिस्पॉन्स, अभी वहां पे है वो, अटेम्प्टिंग टीसीपी कनेक्ट, क्रेडेंशियल एडेड सक्सेसफुली। अब यहाँ पे तुम देख रहे होगे कि यहाँ पे एक माई फाइल शेयर करके एक फाइल तो यहाँ पे बन गया। क्लिक ऑन दिस माई फाइल शेयर। अब यहाँ पे देखो, यहाँ पे गैलरी डॉट टेस्ट डॉट स्विफ्ट तो है। ठीक है, आई विल जस्ट एड अ न्यू फोल्डर और न्यू फाइल ओवर हियर, एड अ टेक्स्ट डॉक्यूमेंट नीतीश डॉट txt। अच्छा, ये ऑलरेडी टेक्स्ट ले ही लेगा। ठीक है, एंड सपोज आई गो बैक, see nitish.txt यहाँ पे रिफ्लेक्ट कर गया है। the same thing here it would also be reflected. I'm not getting the directory where it has been copied up. I will go to the connect part again and let us check whether it's, in order to mount an Azure file share outside Azure region is hosted such as on premises and OS must show script my file share mounting point। अच्छा, DF-H से देख लेते हैं कहाँ माउंट हुआ है। अरे ये माउंट तो हुआ है सिलिकॉन बैच, लेकिन ये कहाँ माउंट हुआ है? MNT माई फाइल शेयर, ये इस पे माउंट हुआ है। ठीक है, आई जस्ट कॉपी दिस अप, मैं इसे कॉपी करता हूँ और चलता हूँ CD। ठीक है, अब मैं एलएस करता हूँ। सी, आई हैव गैलरी टेस्ट डॉट स्विफ्ट एंड आई हैव नीतीश डॉट txt। ठीक है, नाउ आई विल बी क्रिएटिंग few files over here। टच क्लियर कर देता हूँ पहले, क्लियर। ठीक है, टच ABC, ठीक है, 1 से लेके 10 तक .txt। ठीक है, I have created, suppose I do ls, तो मैंने abc1.txt से लेके abc10.txt तक बनाया है. Let us check on our Windows machine whether it has reflected or not. Have we got? यहाँ भी आ गया abc1 से लेके abc10 तक, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
ठीक है, तो ये सिंक प्रोसेस में है कि ऑन एनी नंबर ऑफ VMs यूजिंग फाइल शेयर्स वी कैन क्रिएट अ शेयर्ड इंस्टेंस, और हम एक कैसे एक पर्टिकुलर स्टोरेज को फ्रॉम सो फॉर एग्जांपल नाउ दीज टू स्टोरेज अकाउंट्स और रादर दीज टू virtual machines via the file shares, they have created an shared instance where they can share a particular copy of the things from this virtual machine to this virtual machine. You suppose you go to browse, यहाँ पे ABC से लेके यहाँ तक ये सारी चीज यही सेम चीज यहाँ पे रिफ्लेक्ट कर रहे होंगे. So that's the beauty of file share. Everyone clear?
Yes, sir.
ठीक है. So today would be a more kind of an hectic day for you because आज तुम्हें काफी चीज पढ़ना है. पहले तो माउंटिंग पढ़ना है कि माउंटिंग होता क्या है, माउंटिंग ऑफ ए कंटेनर क्या होता है. Then you have to do just a small brief R&D work on how to persist that particular mounting. ठीक है. माउंटिंग पढ़ने के बाद then you have to just check how do you increase the volume of the mounted container. फिर वो करने के बाद then you have to read about it the file share first. पहले फाइल शेयर्स के बारे में पढ़ोगे कि उसका यूज क्या है, क्यों वो आया पिक्चर में. उसके बाद जाके फिर तुम लोग ये प्रैक्टिकल करोगे कि एक फाइल शेयर बना के यू हैव टू कॉन्फ़िगर इट ऑन द लिनक्स बेस्ड मशीन एंड देन ऑन अ विंडोज बेस्ड मशीन. उसके बाद फिर तुम लोग अपना आज रैप अप करोगे. सो इट इज गोइंग टू बी एन नो वीकेंड संडे फॉर यू. I know today is Sunday, but you have to work out harder because you have continuous classes. Okay, I don't think you have a holiday in between. You have classes every day. So अभी ये खत्म हो जाएगा within 5 minutes. Then you have time. You just read about it, take a small break, and just again read about it, everything, and just try to do the lab sessions during the lab hours. Okay. So I am. First of all, stop recording.